rise of the multifaceted, multi-complex system of living that people are living. Stuck in inertia, that's a diversion. Government worship, instead we are searching ancient mysteries, ancient history, sacred energy, and how to discern it. Human autonomy, truth and philosophy, UFOlogy, human psychopathy, super anomalies, human ecology, you lobotomies up in your consciousness. All the thoughts that we've been dancing around. The system wants to blow your candle out, but we won't let it. We reject it with our pathetic lies, so we chant it down.
Chant It Down podcast is your gateway to your unraveling of a complex system that is grabbed a hold of the lives of you and everyone you know. Come untangle from this woven web to understand this crazy world. Chant It Down with your host, Loomis.
Here we go. That's not what I want, but that's better. Okay. Let's see if we can mess around with this. Here we go. Welcome to Chant It Down. I'm your host, Loomis. This is chantitdownradio.com. It's a website. This is episode 239. I am live streaming today. This is a live stream, and I'm live streaming through YouTube, which is Truth-Filled Trajectory, and Twitch. And I tried again with Telegram, and it's not working. So I don't really know. Anyway, I have to get some more tutoring on that or something. I don't know what the hell happened. We'll figure it out in another time. But anyway, welcome to episode 239. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones 1 year later and the mysterious monoliths. And so both topics today. So I wanted to cover these topics for a long time, and I thought that I thought it would work best as a filler to wait for the chat and the audience to grow so we can take calls today. So this is a call-in show, and we will be doing that as one of the main things I want to do today. This episode, don't expect to get any new answers on either of these topics necessarily. It's more about putting it all on the table. I'm here to open up the mystery, and it's mystery and intrigue that got me receptive to this type of information. To when I had already met an insider of the system in 1999, I was able to take it in because the intrigue and the mystery, even though that was more dark information, it doesn't matter. One of the biggest problems I run into in the mainstream world is lack of curiosity, just kind of lack of and people not asking the right questions. People don't wonder enough about reality. And if they did, you'd have more truth speaking and seeking out there. And if you haven't listened to my episode, though, that has to deal with this particular subject I did years ago, you might want to get involved with that too, especially if you're new to this subject. If you haven't listened to my episode called The Georgia Guidestones, Mass Genocide and PUFAs, you might want to go there first. I'm going to actually release that on Retro Relevance, which is my part of the podcast feed that takes an old episode and makes it new again. I'll probably do that pretty soon, so you can get in touch with that episode again. And then that episode, that particular one, I forget the number of it, but that one was recorded in the heart of the COVID and vaccination rollouts. So it really got down into a lot of that stuff. So I broke down everything you need to know about the monument, each commandment, and all the languages and all the features it has, and possibly who is behind it. We have, of course, the pseudonym RC Christian. I went over all that, so I don't feel the need to get into that here today. Let me just check the chat here to see what's going on. See if anyone's in there. Nobody's in the chat yet. I hope I'm going live. This thing's always, yeah, I'm live. Okay. Well, again, being that I am I'm broadcasting to you on Hawaiian time in the middle of the day, can be awkward for some people, and I'm sorry, but that's just how it is out here. We're in a different, weird time zone compared to the rest of the United States and the world. So I do what I can, but hopefully I get people to get callers, because that would be the exciting thing about this today. But I'm going to, proceed on with this and just keep giving you some information here. So the Georgia Guidestones, I'm pretty sure you're aware of them. I mean, I don't know if you're new to my channel or new to my information, then they were they were basically kind of a copy of Stonehenge with commandments that were put out by obviously a dark occultist, and they're no more to talk about. So I'm not going to repeat myself too much in this episode, so listen to that one if you don't know much about the Georgia Guidestones. And as you probably know, they were destroyed last year on July 6th. And I couldn't find anything on July 6th historically or occult-wise. So I didn't really think that it was an important date. And I never really followed up with this story. I think I mentioned it a little on one episode last year when it happened, but I didn't deep dive. I just, mentioned a few questions I had. And sometimes I like to bring a story back when it's cold. Then you can sort of find out little clues that came later after it was out of the spotlight. Sometimes more answers come. And as we all are better in hindsight than when things actually happen. So that's kind of what you may have noticed a pattern with me if you've been listening to me for a long time on my show, that I won't cover something right when it's happening necessarily. I'll pick it up later and kind of dig into it. That's what I did with Edward Snowden a long time ago, when I covered his story and my doubts on him being a legitimate whistleblower. And that was episode around what I'm going to say episode 113. You might check that out, but that has nothing to do with this. In the case of the Guidestones, a lot of questions happen. Like I have a lot of questions with very little answers that have come from this. I mean, who destroyed it may not be the most important question. It's the cleanup that suggests there was something suspicious. And I'm surprised nobody tried blowing these things up a long time ago. I mean, with the first commandment, let's just say you're not that familiar with them. The first commandment being to maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. I mean, that is the big thing that, like, mass genocide is in mind here. So I mean, if you I don't know, and really when it comes down to the first commandment, that's what it is, and that's how we know it's made by these eugenicists, dark occultists, because only someone in that kind of mindset from that kind of camp would want to do something like that. And the rest of the commandments are very blasé, actually, very vague. But they do represent that same writing on any United Nations or World Economic Forum documents. They make it sound good and glittery in case someone looks it up, and goes, hell no, they're not trying to hurt anyone. They're just here to help. Listen, they're here for the environment, and they want to end poverty, and and that's the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and that that's the kind of thing, the kind of writing that you're getting off of this. So got someone in the chat. Aloha, Lee Paco. Yes, aloha, Lipako. Welcome to the show. We will be taking calls in a little while, so hang in there. So, anyway, we are, and so anyway, these things have been around for a lot, had been around for a long time, and they were there to basically just tell what the elites would like in the future, but with that really vague writing with most of the commandments, except for the first one, of course. So they were graffitied on. I mean, heavily. People hated them, because I mean, who would like something that says that 500 million people would be left on the planet? I mean, I couldn't find any for this show on the slides, but I mean, there was people pissing on them and shitting there and just like leaving, whatever they can, trying to break pieces off. I mean, people don't like it, and I don't blame them. So, I've never been there, but supposedly there was at least 4 to 5 cameras watching it from all angles. So how come we only see it from one angle or possibly two? That was something that I have questions on here with this whole thing. So let's check out the video of the destruction of these Guidestones, and we'll do that. Yes. Yeah. All right. Do that. Okay. So let me scroll it back here for a second. And yeah. So, I mean, check this out. It's 4:03 a.m. in the morning. And boom. Now, let me rewind that. Maybe let me just rewind that. Now here's the getaway vehicle. But let's look at that. Let's look at that one more time here. Let's look at that all the way back here. Now, watch. It looks like a blast came from something. It doesn't look like an explosion to me. It looks like an RPG. To me, it looks like something that came out of like shot out of something, and we only get that one angle. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting too. 4:03 a.m. And you will notice exactly at 4:03, 33 seconds. So you get 333. To me, that's not symbolic that the elites did it necessarily, I feel like alternative media tends to jump at everything and read into everything too much at times, like, they planned it at that very second. I see it as synchronicity. I see the universe speaks to us, and you can dive into that language. Some people say 333 means to use your natural abilities to express your creativity. Well, someone definitely expressed their creativity, didn't they? And somebody maybe thought this was their path, and so you could be getting something like that rather than it was planned at 4:03 with 33 seconds. I don't know. I just sometimes with that stuff, to me, I think people jump too much at things. But here, let's watch. And then there's the getaway vehicle right here. It's like a gray sedan, and it just looks like common folk that did it. I mean, you can't really tell. It almost looks kind of like a Mercedes, but I could be wrong. There it is again. Boom. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that was that. So it seems to me that it was just somebody who was pissed off. And so so here's the thing that gets to me, though. This is what I always wondered about with this is they demolished it the next day for safety reasons. And that's weird because, well, usually a crime scene is investigated for a while, and they said for structural damage it wasn't safe. And you think they block it off. Maybe the granite company would eventually come and fix the broken side. Maybe most places would hire a security guard till it's fixed, a couple of shifts a day, people sitting there. So, no one goes and, I mean, because to me, it didn't, most of it was still standing. Like, to me, it wasn't like the whole thing was blown up. They actually just blew up the north side, which was the languages in Hindi and Swahili. And I don't think that's really symbolic either. I think this is to hide from the cameras, maybe the best that they could. Maybe this is the least spot. But again, there's reportedly 4 to 5 cameras. How come we're only seeing this one side? So to me, it did look like they blew it up with something like a device, like a projectile device, rather than something planted there. But then we get this video of somebody supposedly, let's see. Let me find the video first. Yeah, so we get this video of, let me find it again. Yes. Okay. Yeah, here. So here we have this supposedly somebody. Let's rewind this a little bit here. Oh, skipped it past the reporter. So supposedly this person is the person who planted the bomb. All right, let's start right there. Yeah, so what's going on here? There we go.
The GBI says this video shows the person leaving an explosive device at the structure and then running away. We circled so you can see that person.
See him running away.
Right back out.
Okay. Bit. Here's the problem with that. And here's the big problem with that whole thing is, if you notice, there's no, here, I'll show you again, just to show you. There's no timestamp in the corner. See that? So here, let's play it one more time just so you can see.
GBI says this video shows
on the right corner,
leaving an explosive device at the structure.
Everything else did, away. As you saw. So what's that all about? No timestamp. I don't know. So to me, that's kind of weird. It's weird. That's all. It's just strange. I don't know what to say about it, but it is definitely kind of an interesting thing why they didn't have the timestamp there. Yeah, Dodge Charger, maybe it's a Dodge Charger. Could be, and it could be just somebody that's like, yeah, I'm fed up with this, and I get why you do it. I get why someone would do it. Remember, this is at the time when we were deep in COVID still, deep in medical lockdown. And I'm surprised more people, more destruction and resistance didn't happen at that time. I just always thought that the whole time, like, okay, where's all the people pissed off about this? But so to me, what was more interesting than this, I was excited about, was digging up the time capsule. So there's a time capsule that was on the in the area, and here it is. And underneath here is a time capsule, supposedly. And this thing, I was always wondering, well, what's in it? What's in it? And then it's weird how they said nothing was found. Most sources said nothing was found. But then I find this one source of this, a single 8-track tape of Saturday Night Fever, Peterbilt emblem, an October 1979 Playboy magazine signed by Burt Reynolds, and a bag containing 1,734 Quaalude pills. And this guy, Charles Smith, president of Elbert County Historical Society, says, "We don't know what to make of this assemblance of items. It will take weeks to determine the common thread that runs through these items." So where was this part of the story when we were told by almost every source that nothing was found? And then this stuff isn't very interesting. I mean, it's, it definitely would be a time capsule. But why Quaalude pills? You know, what to believe? I don't know. It's very detailed to be a lie in a way, but why lie if that's all they found too? And it happened all so fast, you know. It and then they tore it down. So when they tore it down, they tore it down like the next day. Let's see if I can. You know what? We'll skip that. Never mind. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I just found that weird. I found that a bit strange that they would, just tear it down the next day. So it's either one of two things, really, that someone or some people wanted the revenge on the New World Order and just decided to do it, which is very possible. I mean, I get it. I get why. I wouldn't promote that kind of thing because really didn't accomplish anything, right? But the other thing was was it done on purpose by the elites because they have enough of this injected poison into people, and maybe phase one is done for their operations and they're deciding to destroy this as sort of like a symbolic gesture that their work is almost here. And the way that it was conducted, I might lean closer to number two. I mean, I'm always suspicious when it's not standard protocol, just like when Jeffrey Epstein's alleged body was shown on the stretcher instead of a standard body bag. I mean, you know, that kind of thing. Or when George Floyd's pulse wasn't checked before they put him on a stretcher, and they also didn't put him in a body bag. They just threw him on there. You know, those kind of things always make me wonder. The standard procedure isn't there, and we're just told so many lies that you just got to wonder. There were actually people that were upset too at whoever did this, and it's like, and you didn't read the first commandment about reducing the world population down to 500 million, you know, and what makes people think that you're going to be one of those people that are still standing, you know? It's crazy when people agree with something so drastic if they're going to be excluded from population control. Well, not me, you know. I'm good, you know. Yeah, I've achieved everything in life, and you know they'll need me around. No, they won't. They will not need you. You're just a useless eater. As you may know, the monument had 8 modern spoken languages on the site, and 4 dead languages too. It had Sanskrit, it had Babylonian cuneiform, it had Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it had classical Greek on each side of the top of the capstone, I guess you could say. And well, one thing that I kind of think about with this is they left out. So think about all the different histories, the different big civilizations of our past. You had Egypt, you had Babylon, you had Greece, you had you had, like, they had Sanskrit there, so you had the Indus Valley region. What are we missing in our culture, our ancient history? We're missing Latin, which was, of course, the language of the Roman Empire and the Vatican. And in my research, the top of the visible pyramid is somewhere with the Jesuits. So I think of that, and I think that might lead you to where it came from. But another thing is it's also 666 miles from the UN headquarters in New York. So there you have that too. And they're all friends, you know. But one thing that I didn't put, there's a couple things I didn't put in the original episode I did about Georgia Guidestones, and that was that the Georgia Guidestones were put up on March 22nd of 1980, which is 322. Of course, that's 322 is the number in the Skull and Bones Society, as well as that is the very beginning of the season of sacrifice and the start of their important holiday and the start of the occult New Year. So I think it's very symbolic that some dark occultist, erected this thing. And did they take it down too? That's a question. Another thing I didn't know about in the first episode I did about this too is the notch that was cut out of the English Spanish version, and it was in 2009. Supposedly, on September 11th of that year, there was a notch cut out of the side. If you can see that there, yeah. And for those of you in the listening later in the podcast feed, there's a cut out on the side of a monument in the inside of the English speaking one. It was like, you know, it's a very clean looking cut. So why that? Well, then it was replaced by a cube, and it said up there 2014. And I thought that was kind of interesting too. And that, so this was placed. So there was this missing spot in 2009, which would have been the 8th anniversary of 9/11. And then on 9/11 of 2014, the cube was placed there, and it said 2014. And well, then about 12 days later, the cube was removed, and all 6 sides were revealed. And it was removed by the groundskeeper, and he smashed it to pieces. Why? I couldn't find the video. I've only read about it. I couldn't find any real pictures to give you here on this, but it was and so, but he showed everyone the other sides of the cube, and it said 2014. We have that, but then on the other side it said 8, and then another side 16, the letters MM, and JAM, JAM. And so, you know, whatever that means, I have no idea. But you can read about, I've heard so many interpretations. And I remember back in 2014, I believe I covered it on this show even. There was a date predicted in October of 2014 of something big happening. I think it was October 3rd. Somehow they got that out of that cube. And obviously someone was wrong. So, you know, there's always those wrong interpretations. Some have interpreted as 2024, because 8 plus 16 plus MM, meaning the millennial, something about that. And I'm not, I didn't actually copy those notes, but it's just strange, you know, what that was all about too. I mean, someone planned that, obviously, and I think there's something to do. Now, 2024, is there something next year that we need to think about? I've had a feeling about that, but that's all I can say. And I'm not one to put dates and things, and you know, so I don't know. But if the elites had this taken down, it's the complete removal of it and rid proof of their mass genocide. You know, because you know it'll be as if the Guidestones never existed, and now we're on the next phase of their plan. Well, the thing we need to remember here is that we need to never forget that these elites rule the world, and they hate you. They hate human life, obviously, of course. And we can go on and on about the elites, but who consents to them? We do. And all we need to do is to say no to their plans and their rule and their way. And there's way more of us. So, you know, I mean, that's it. And that's why this information is so important. If I had enough people who understood it and knew all this, they would all stop consenting. Just think about how many people would stop consenting. And that's why it's important to see the system for what it truly is, as dark as some of this information can be at times, including understanding that we are consenting to violence and slavery, which is what government is. And so people need to take it that deep, and they need to understand that. And that's one reason that I do this podcast. So just remember that. All right, well, let's go on to, we got a few people in the chat now. All right, guys. Yes. Welcome. Looks like mostly just on YouTube. You can also go to Twitch. Let me just check Telegram one more time. I doubt it's working. It is not. Okay. Well, I don't know how many times that's happened to me, but one day I'll get it. And one day I'll get a few more things up here too. Like I kind of want to get Odyssey and other things, but that's just going to happen over time. So we're going to talk about the mysterious monoliths that were popping up all over the world. This is another subject here I want to get into, and then I'll start taking calls. So the monoliths, you know, this will be rather quick because I can't seem to find any answers, but maybe we need to be asking the right questions. And I wish I had answers. I really do. I wish I had more answers on this. And I got this idea. I was talking off air with NY Patriot. Shout out to NY Patriot. If you don't know his show, you should check it out. Goes into a lot of occult things, and good guy. Just check it out. We agree there should be a show about this, and it's a very interesting topic. And so it's something I kind of just put on the back burner. I was like, well, maybe I should do. And then it popped up into my head like, well, these two subjects are kind of about monuments, and this would be great filler for a call-in show. So we'll do it. We'll run with it here. Let's start with the original, and it's in the middle of nowhere. So you can see here, it is the one in Utah, and who knows how long it was there. But some say, and I mean, how do they know this? Did they carbon date around it? I really don't know. They say 2015 or 2016. I can't tell you where that info came from, but yeah. How do they know that? I don't know, but it was meant to be discovered eventually, and it is really in the middle of nowhere. Why was it put there? It was obviously man-made. It had rivets, so it wasn't just like it just popped out of the dirt and it's some crazy alien contraption. It was found November 18th of 2020, and then it vanished. 9 days later, it vanished on November 27th. And it was actually removed by some people. It was removed by some kind of here's a picture of people actually removing it. So and it was a group of people. Andy Lewis, a 34-year-old base jumping guide and slackliner in Moab. So this is close to Moab, Utah, and friends. They went and did that. And so the reason why they took it down, it was too much of a popular site. I'm sure you had Instagrammers galore going there, trying to find it. Who knows? Maybe somebody ran out of water, or, had to get helicopter lifted. But they supposedly took it down because they were ruining the area. And, I can see that happening with things like that for sure. So, but way in the middle of nowhere, it was spotted by a government helicopter that was counting some type of sheep. And so I remember thinking that was intriguing. It's interesting. But then this happened, and you had one in Romania. Here's one in Romania. And it was just popped out of nowhere, a random country, Romania. Now, my thinking is there was a genuine movement at first, and then we had all the copycats and all the people that decided to just go ahead and make one. But this was just as soon as the other one disappeared, this one came up in Romania. And so there have been as many as 200 reports of them, including Turkey, Dominican Republic, Congo, and they disappeared as suddenly as they materialized. They found them all over the place. I mean, so here you have one, and there's the third one was in California. What was the name of that place? It was Atascadero. So it's atop of a mountain in California. They found one in South Australia and Fayetteville, North Carolina, El Paso, Texas. This one here is Compton Beach in England. They found Glastonbury, Scotland. I believe that's Scotland. Italy, Colombia, New Zealand, India, Bolivia, Japan, Norway, Finland, Poland, Ukraine. So it was everywhere. And I didn't even know at the time that it was that big of a story. I actually didn't know there was like 200 of them. I thought, there was a few of them. I was like, that's kind of weird. But there was actually a whole bunch of them. Now, this is an interesting one. This one is in Göbekli Tepe. one of the oldest sites in the world, and you see military guarding it. But it disappeared February 9th, just 4 days after its discovery. And that's kind of weird too. But then there was the dumb things. Everything has dumb come into it. There was one inside of a South African grocery store, and there was one in like a shopping center, and it just got dumb from there. Many were just copycat gimmicks, and some were unique, strange anomalies. So there was an anonymous collective called the Most Famous Artist, he took credit for the ones in Utah and California, and he was selling replicas for $45,000 each, and I think that's just a money-making scheme. And then there was the one in California was torn down by a group of young men that traveled 5 hours in the middle of the night to remove it. That's kind of strange, That's strange in itself, and I wonder if it offended people and their beliefs. Maybe just people they don't like it. I don't know. People got really weird during COVID, so who knows? That could be a possibility there. But both of these topics today, you could read into them too much. Both of them could be done by people who are just independently working on their own, just pranksters, or getting revenge on the Georgia Guidestones. And you got to think these happened in 2020 when we had all the lockdowns. People had a lot of time on their hands, and anything fun and mysterious was good in those times. And with the Guidestones, making a plan to blow them up could happen easier when you don't have to go to work and you're fed up with draconian laws and measures. I totally understand why someone would. But to wrap this up, I think with the monoliths, the originals were genuine, perhaps. And what are they trying to say? Well, 2020 certainly marked an epoch. It certainly it was like a milestone in our histories. I mean, a shift in our lives. Yes, the Great Reset, but also this is the year that aliens were announced as real, and nobody seemed to even care. Like nobody even cared that they remember off-world vehicles not made on this earth were announced, and in the COVID bill attached to it was disclosure. It never happened, obviously. And also was that one Israeli chief talked about right at the end of 2020, talked about how there's this galactic federation. We've gone over that. Haim Ashed was his name. And if I collect more info on any of these, I will do another more in-depth show on it. I'll go ahead and do that. But so I think that's going to wrap up those two topics. So let's go to the calls here. Let's see if I can get. I don't have too many in the chat right now. I was hoping that it would fill up more, but I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things here to bring in some callers. All right. Yep. Might sound a little bit different, but okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the call-in numbers here to the show. Let's see. All right. Okay. And 1 second, guys. What is going on there? There. Stop it. This thing's not working for me. There. No. All right, let me try this again here. We're going to put on, okay, here we go. So that is the call-in number on the screen there, 1937-783-7259. And I hope to hear from some of you. But nice to hear from anybody out there. Oh, and if you do call in, turn down whatever you're listening on. Otherwise, there's usually a delay in everything. So if you want to call in, just turn down the background noise so it doesn't pick up on the mic. And that should do it. And if you're international, this is on Skype, so you could give me a call on Skype if you wish. All right. So got the call-in number on the bottom of the screen. You can take your calls if you'd like to call in. Again, the number is 1-937-783-7259. Yeah, I know it's kind of an awkward time of the day, so if I don't get any callers in this one, all good. I want to update you on the show a little bit while we're waiting for callers here. And one of the things that I'll be doing is probably next show, I'll be doing a swap cast with Triffin from Unlocking the Code. We're going to be getting into some more cool stuff. I love working with Triffin. He's got a great knowledge base and, years of study on ancient history. And we like to go, deep with that stuff too. And yeah, if you like to support the show, it always, you can always get afterthoughts on Patreon if you want. If you want to do a little support, if you're getting value out of the show. There's also, if you want to sport a shirt, a Chin It Down shirt, you can always do that if you like to. This is just it. The show has always been free, and it always will be. But anyway, it helps the show out if you want to support it, so I can do it more often. So it can justify itself in my life more often. Not that I haven't been doing it. I've been pretty consistent doing it about once a week, this show. So if you're interested in digging in the archives, because I've been doing so many shows lately once a week, you can catch up on the recent archives. This is 239, so the 230s have been pretty action-packed and good. So you might catch up on those if you haven't. And you might catch up on some of the other old episodes. Chin It Down has no old episodes. All this is relevant now. Just like I'm covering this now, this is still interesting and it still matters. I mean, it's not as it happened already, but it's sometimes better to take a look at something from our past and just kind of look at it and get it warm again, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, and the show's going good. 10 years strong, and I'm going to keep on going. I feel like the show is I'm going to give you some pretty good shows this year that I have in mind that I haven't actually put into action yet, but I want to get some great guests on here again. And I kind of want to do some roundtables. We're gonna spice it up here and always keeping it, interesting on Chin It Down. And all the things that I do here are a one-man show. So if you see me screwing up here on the live stream, well, that's just because I'm not that good at this stuff. But yeah, no technical help. So if you ever, if you have people that are tech savvy want to help with the show, I need to be uploading much more of my videos. I got a pretty good head start on Odyssey. I want to start filling up Rumble now. And, I'm trying to do that, but that, it all takes time that I don't have, being that I am a one-man show, a one-man band. And so a lot of the stuff that I do is spare time. And it actually takes a long time to even to prepare for a show like today, just getting the slides ready and everything. And it all is, time consuming, and I get nothing of it, but I'm here to do the work. I'm here to do the great work that a lot of people are not doing. And that is getting people aware of the situation we have here on planet Earth, aware of the unfortunate situation, but at the same time, it's enlightening in its own way, and aware of these times. The times that we're in are insane. It's no longer like it was in the 80s and the 90s or the 70s. Those days you could probably get away with saying that those everyday life was pretty much the same. And it is still in some ways, but we get lulled by that. We get lulled by that every day is like yesterday, and we go to work. But what do we just cover up? What are we covering up right now? We're covering up the last 3 years. We're covering up the last 3 years of tyranny, the last 3 years of insanity. I mean, look how people behaved. People need to, really remember that, or remember who put all those draconian things in, and who, and who was there waiting to basically hang you. The everyday average citizens that were thinking that they were doing good. The problem with humanity is their care factor is good. You got care in a lot of things that don't need to be there, or they're in the wrong things. In other words, you get people caring about climate change. I understand why, because you care about the planet. I get that. But not understanding the scam, and, oh, you don't like nature? Well, you like pollution? Of course people like nature. I don't even know anybody. Well, okay, I've met some people that I've taken on hikes that didn't like nature, but most people genuinely like nature, and they like to have spend time out in it, and clean air, clean water. Of course, we all love that stuff, but they give people's care into things that are wrong. Then that's what the elites are really good at. Is they're really good at getting people caring. Oh, you don't care about grandma because back in the COVID days, it's like that kind of stuff. But it's really about taking the care off of those things that are part of the global agenda, and switching them around in people's minds to care about the things that actually matter. Freedom, health, you name it. This backwards world, everything's against us. It's inverted, and we have to make it right again. And there's us, and then there's a few elites at the top just dictating everything, and everybody else is just the enablers of all this stuff that they're trying to put in. And it's really sad. It's really too bad that people can't think for themselves. So we're in that state of people thinking that way, and it's a problem. Let's get some calls in here. I know I don't have many in the chat. Damn, where did you all go? Did I say something? Must have said something wrong. Offended somebody. No, I don't think so. So 1-937-783-7259 is the number you can call in if you want to, call in to chant it down. Call-in shows are fun. I know I had a good one last time. Had a few different people call in last time, and I'd like to get this part of the show more integrated as just like, at least once a month, being able to get callers. So, we can have conversations about this unique world that we live in. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you can't call in by any means. Let me see if it should be working fine. So, yeah. But yeah, if anyone wants to call into the show, numbers on the screen. I'm going to give it about 10 more minutes. And if I can get some more people on, great. And if not, I'll end the live stream, and it'll just be kind of a short episode. But you guys help make the episode, when you call in. It's important. Well, going back to the subjects I've covered today, the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones, I really feel like there was something weird about it all. Just really weird. Now, if you look at the photo there of the Georgia Guidestones, look, there 3 columns are still standing. It wouldn't take that much for them to fix one more and just block it off for a while. Not that I really wanted them to, But I'm just saying, like, they had to destroy them the next day. You know, it's just kind of weird. It's the way that it all went about, and the way that it looks like a projectile weapon hit it rather than an explosion device. It just seems a little strange, the procedure, and I don't know. And yeah, they were just this weird thing, this in the middle of nowhere. It's like the answer, the question I always had too is like, why there? You know, why in Georgia? What's important in that specific spot? And the only thing I can think of is 666 miles from the UN. But you could do that. You could take that distance in any direction and put one somewhere else. And that's kind of strange. Why that was the that's kind of strange that was the selected site by these occultists, those dark occultists, and they did it, you know, under the guise. And this, oh yeah, there's something interesting too. Was on the plaque that I showed you earlier. On that plaque, where there's the time capsule underneath, you can see it on the left of the Guidestones there. On that plaque, underneath on it, it says pseudonym, as in NYN, pseudonym. It wasn't even spelled right. You wouldn't spell something wrong on such an expensive thing that was so much detail was put into it. I mean, you had down to the, you know, the little holes where the sun came in on the solstices and stuff like that. So it's weird. And I don't know if anyone's ever figured that part out of it, but now they're gone, and they've been gone for a year, and no leads on who did it. You would think that they would have at least came up with a patsy, you know. But the thing I don't like about this situation, what happened there, is it gives people that are actually into researching the truth a bad name, and that maybe that's their aim with this, and it didn't really work. But maybe they were trying to, you know, put in that conspiracy theorists are violent people, you know, and maybe that's what their idea for this was. They wanted to make people feel like from the outside the conspiracy theorists are out targeting these kind of things. Oh, but then of course in cities you can knock down a statue of some founding father figure or whatever because he's racist, but you know, you can't knock these things down. It's funny how there were people that were just like, oh, you know, it breaks my heart to see this. It breaks your heart to see something that forecasts the demise of humanity, basically. And it's just weird. The whole thing was weird from the beginning to the end. It's a unique story. And I recommend you go into my other episode that I did a couple of years ago, the Georgia Guidestones, Mass Genocide, and PUFAs. And you'll see what that's all about when you get there on that episode. I'm going to re-release it too on retro relevance. We'll see what we can do with that. Let me see if I can find the actual number of that show while I'm waiting. Anyway, call in, anyone. 1-937-783-7259. I have a feeling that people are watching internationally and probably can't call in Skype. Only, you know, 2 in the chat right now, so pretty dead. That's what I went over with William Ramsey on the last show, or second to last show. We're like, wow, it's dead everywhere. It's like, this is a weird time also. I mean, are people dying off where you are? In the chat, if you want to, you know, if you've noticed, maybe not dying off, but like, where'd everybody go? You know, I live in Hawaii, and the tourism industry seems slower than normal. Definitely. It's kind of weird, you know, and I just feel like that's happening kind of all over the place, everywhere. So I don't know. It seems like, you know, maybe slowly people are dropping off. It's really interesting. And I'll continue to work with William Ramsey. He's William Ramsey Investigates. He's a great researcher and good guy. So let me look down in my archives here and actually get you the number of that specific episode you might enjoy about the Georgia Guidestones. Where would that one be? No, not that far down. But yeah, if you guys are in the chat still, let me know if you're noticing it's dead more everywhere you're at. It just seems like not enough people, and they say there's a lot of people out of jobs, like everyone's hiring, and even police, and they're understaffed, or supposedly, they all had to take the what. So I am on YouTube, so I shouldn't say the whole thing, but you understand exactly what I'm talking about here. Gosh, I can't even find my own episode. I'm buried in my episodes here. But yeah, I guess I have to go pretty far back in the archives for this one. Maybe I released it. Yeah, it was right around the time of the rollout of the. Here it is, 161, episode 161, the Georgia Guidestones, Mass Genocide, and PUFAs. And I will just also re-release it on Retro Relevance soon. Well, getting close to ending the live stream. I don't want to just take up your time here and just sort of talk about nothing. But, this show does rely on the listeners, for things like this, as well as if you want me to do it more and you want to support the work that I do. I'm focusing on this pyramid I found on this island that I'm about, I think I'm about 80% sure it's a pyramid. I actually climbed it, and I did a video. I thought I did a video on my camera. I went through all the effort of going all the way out there and climbing it. And what happened? I was taking photos and not taking video because it was so bright sun. I couldn't see the setting that I was working with on the camera. Yeah. Oh, world population is projected to fall by the end of the century, actually. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't doubt that. No, I've heard some crazy stuff that just due to people having fewer children, for sure. Yes. I've heard some crazy stuff too, though, and we can't always believe all this stuff, but looking at the numbers of Deagle.com for 2024 and 2025, something big, they're projecting a major decrease in the population, whether that's right or not. But it's important to always be prepared in these times to, just kind of, be ready for really anything, because I don't underestimate what we just went through. We went through some crazy things and crazy times, and they didn't just do that for no reason. And everybody went and got the formula inside them, and some interesting things. We haven't even begun to see all of it. There's been definitely some fallout, but yeah, and it's a dark subject, and I hate to always go over that on this show. But at the same time, yeah, stuff happened. Stuff definitely happened. So yeah, it just seems like it's not a big live stream day. However, again, I'll be doing some. Having fewer children makes things feel dead, and still also, well, people are having fewer children, and the thing about that is too, it's what's been ingrained in people. Like when my parents were young, the generations had kids early. They had kids in like their 20s. Now everybody they put their career first. They're all about their career, and they're about their life and their selfish life, and then they have kids when they're like in their 40s. And to me, that's too old. I mean, you can, but still, that's too old to be, because by the time they're in their 20s, you're 60 and you're getting up there. It is. I mean, people can have kids whenever, but also a lot of these yuppies in the inner cities or the cities, like they don't have children because they're worried about climate change. And Yeah, and of course, sperm count is dropping, and uh, sometimes I wonder too. The world population count is even correct. I've gone over this on that on this show too. Of like, you know, like, is it really 8 billion people? I mean, yes, some places feel very crowded, and then some other places don't. And of course, now with the rollout of things, I mean, it's hard to know. But they're really it. Sometimes it doesn't add up with the way society's going and has been going with lowering sperm count and more people becoming LGBTQ plus whatever the hell. They're not having kids. They're not trying to have children and be these there and so that's growing, that segment of society, as well as just yuppies that don't want to have kids and they want to live their lifestyle in New York City and in an apartment or in London or in Seattle or wherever, and so there's a lot of things going, and preservatives and foods and the lining in cans and yeah, all kinds of stuff is definitely taking the population numbers down. Not to mention just random cancers from all the food. Oh, there's a few more people in the chat. Well, hey, if you want to call in, the number's on the screen, so feel free. And if you don't, that's okay too. But 1-937-783-7259, talking about population dropping. And so the population is seemingly smaller. But as of recent, though, too, I am thinking there is a lot more people uh, uh, there's a lot less people here and there. And all the sirens I hear all the time, I really wonder with the rollout of things, because, people aren't reporting it. The media is not reporting on it. And it just makes me wonder. It makes me think that maybe people are slowly, being taken out here and there. It's this quiet genocide, and I wouldn't doubt it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are contributing to that for certain. And it's not just one thing. It's easy to scapegoat it with the poison dart, but that's a massive thing that happens in society. I mean, when have they shut down society and make everyone take a formula inside them, and so everything can go back to normal? I talked to people in Australia, and there's so many people that didn't want to get it that got it because they had to keep their job. America too, but those places got a little bit stricter, like Australia, Canada, New Zealand, UK too. A lot of people got really strict with things, and that happened. And we had, a lot of people get sick. I was talking to somebody in Australia, and he was saying to me here, I wasn't talking to him in Australia, but I was talking to him here, and he was saying to me, yeah, I really didn't want to get that, and I haven't felt the same since. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. So I'm gonna round this out real soon here, but if anyone wants to call in, this is a call-in show, and I do like taking your calls. 1-937-783-7259. Excuse me. And I'll just if I get a call in the next few minutes, great. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna end the live stream and get outside. But it's always good to have people here in the chat, and anyone who wants to call in talk, and we'll make these live streams more lively. I'm gonna have to do some more advertising. It sucks that Hawaiian time is kind of in the middle of a lot of things where a lot of people are busy doing other things. Like on the West Coast right now, people are just sitting down for dinner. On the East Coast of the US, people are going to bed. So it's kind of a hard time, no matter what time I put it. And I don't have weekends off, so that makes it a little harder for a call-in show. But these shows will get more lively as we go along, and I'm going to do one once a month as a call-in, and maybe they'll, like the last one, the 10th anniversary of Chant It Down, had quite a few callers, and I'd like to keep that going on. Well, anyway, I think I'm going to end this live stream, but I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of unique two little things here. The monoliths, an interesting thing too. I mean, it was weird. Definitely was weird, and so was the blowing up of the Georgia Guidestones. It was very weird. And like I say, I like to instill mystery and intrigue in people, if anything. And if that helps bring people down the path of starting to figure out what's going on in the world, that's probably the best way, because you can't yell in someone's face about it. You have to be more tactful. And I've gone through stages where I've done the wrong things, and I've realized that it's intrigue that brings people into this world. Intrigue, mystery, Well, I thank all of you for listening. I thank everybody for supporting Chant It Down. If you want to support Chant It Down, you can go to Afterthoughts on Patreon. I don't like Patreon, but I use them. It's a good platform for me to put that extra show if you want to get into that. If you want to buy an album, or if you want to buy a t-shirt, that helps support the show. You don't have to support it at all. Just simply give it out to other people. Much love, you guys. Be a warrior, not a worrier, and chant it down. Chant it down, you guys. Much love.